Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Esty and this channel is all about my pre-nursing and nursing journey. I have a lot of content on here on taking your pre-nursing exams and also just study content and things related to nursing. So if you are interested in that, definitely go ahead and subscribe below. So today I wanted to get on here and share with you guys several tips that I have for pre-nursing students. So I have now come to almost the end of my pre-nursing journey, which is very exciting. I have finished all of my prerequisites and I'm just completing a few co-requisites, which basically are courses that are required for a nursing program, but it doesn't need to be taken before the program starts. I personally wanted to finish all of these courses before my program starts, and so I'm trying to complete them all before I actually begin the nursing program. But I thought that now that I have completed all these prerequisites and I've completed my nursing entrance exams, that I would just share with you guys some tips that I've learned along the way and things that I wish I would have known going into this pre-nursing journey. So let's dive right in. My first tip is to decide what is most important to you as you're going into a nursing program. So this could be a variety of things, and for each person it's going to look a little bit different. So for you, this might be that you're looking for a cost-effective program, so something that is not very expensive. Or maybe you're looking for a very highly acclaimed program, like at a very rigorous school that's very well known. Or maybe you just know that you want to complete a bachelor's of nursing degree. There could be just many different factors going into this. But it's important to clarify for yourself what you want from a program before you actually start looking, because there are just so many different nursing programs out there. If you're interested in hearing a variety of ways to become a registered nurse, I have a video that I will be linking up here for you guys if you're interested. There are just so many different tracks out there to becoming a nurse. It's really not a one size fits all. And so the great part about it is that there's a lot of flexibility and you have a lot of different options. And so it's not just the traditional 4-year route. So basically you just want to make sure that you have narrowed down for yourself what is most important to you, and that will help you choose what programs would fit best for you personally. So step number 2 is kind of the next logical step. It's to look for programs then that fit into what you're looking for and to make a list of all the programs that you want to apply for. I personally didn't apply to very many schools. Some people apply to a whole list of schools. Some people apply to just one. It just depends on what you want to do, of course. So make a list of whatever schools you're planning to apply to. My third tip goes right along with this, and that is to make a very detailed list of all of the requirements of each program that you are applying to. When I first started looking at nursing schools, I was really overwhelmed by the list of requirements that needed to be finished in order to apply to the nursing programs. And it can look very overwhelming at first. So what I personally think is really helpful is to just make a list of every single thing that's required for the programs that you're applying to, so that you have a detailed list. And then if there are any dates that are really important, for example, when your nursing entrance exam is due or when your application is due, make sure that you write those down and you have those in your calendar or your planner, whatever it is that you use, so that you remember those dates and so that you do not miss anything important as you're going through the application process. My next tip is to get in touch with an admissions counselor at each of the schools that you're applying to and just verify all of the requirements that are needed to get into the program. What I found is that sometimes there were little differences or little changes that a program has made that might not be listed on their website or on their documents that they have available online. So you just want to make sure that you are on top of all of that, and speaking to an admissions counselor I think is just a very helpful thing to do, and it can also get the ball rolling on the application process. An admissions counselor can also help you with any transcripts that you might have from previous college courses that you've taken or previous degrees. And a side note with that is that if you do have a previous degree or credits that you're trying to bring in, sometimes it takes some extra work on your part to make sure that everything that should transfer will transfer. So sometimes when they do an initial review of your transcripts, they will maybe look over a class that you've already taken and not count it, or maybe they'll look at a course that you've done in the past and think that it doesn't fill a particular requirement, and so they don't transfer that credit. If that happens to you, but you are pretty sure that your class did fit the requirements and should transfer in, my recommendation is just to keep on pushing for that class to transfer and just explaining, here's what this class covered, here's what I did in it. I think that this fits in with your course and the requirements for this course. I was able to get several extra classes transferred in that initially, when they did my initial review, they were not going to transfer. And another tip with that is that if you do kind of get into a pickle with your transcripts like I did and trying to figure out what gets transferred and, you know, all of that, your admissions counselor will probably not be able to help very much with that. And you should just go directly to the registrar's office. Either you can go in person or just call them and try to speak to a director, because that's usually the best way to kind of get right to it and to talk to a person who is actually able to transfer those credits for you. That is my big tip with that one. All right, so my next tip is to take advantage of community college classes that are in your area to do your pre-nursing classes. This is a great way to get through your pre-nursing classes at a much lower cost, and still often community colleges have extremely high quality classes. In my pre-nursing classes, I have taken them actually at 3 different community colleges in my area, and what I love about these community college courses is that they have a lot more flexibility in terms of scheduling. So they have hybrid classes and they have online classes and they have evening classes. And so I was really able to kind of pick and choose from the different community colleges in my area which classes would fit best into my schedule, which I really appreciated. Just being a pretty busy person and being a mom, it was great to have that flexibility. And on top of that, what I discovered is that community colleges also have quite a bit of funding from the government, and they also have quite a bit of scholarship opportunities. And so I was able to get a lot of great scholarships that helped even more to bring the cost down. So I think that this is just an amazing way, whether you're going to continue doing your degree through a community college after you finish your pre-nursing courses, or whether you're going to transfer those credits into another university, that is a great way to go to get your prerequisite classes for pre-nursing. Now, my next tip is to plan for all of your nursing entrance exams in advance. So you're going to want to make sure that you know exactly which test you're supposed to take. There are several standard nursing entrance exams. I think the TEAS is probably the biggest, most popular one, but then there's also the Esty, which is very common. There's the Kaplan exam. There's just several different nursing entrance exams that are a possibility. So make sure that you know what your school requires for their entrance exam. Make sure you know what date that is required by, and then also you want to make sure that you know what is considered a passing grade for your school. So each school is going to be a little bit different on these requirements, so make sure you know what's required for the schools you're applying to. Make sure you're on top of that, and give yourself plenty of time so that you have time to study for the exam, take the exam, and then even have a little bit of extra time in case you might want to retake it to get a better score. Just make sure that you're thinking ahead in that way, because for me personally, that test was probably the most stressful part of my pre-nursing journey so far, and also the most work in terms of studying. So I would just recommend to give yourself plenty of time for that so that you're not stressing last minute. All right, this tip is a big one. I think it's very important, and that is to be proactive about your application and about staying on top of everything, because nobody cares about you getting into nursing school as much as you do. And that is what I have found. Your admissions counselor does not care about it like you do. Maybe your mom cares about it as much as you do, maybe, but probably nobody else cares about it as much as you do. So with that being said, you want to make sure that you have a plan and that you've written out your goals in terms of when you're going to take your nursing entrance exams, when you're going to take certain classes, and make a timeline for yourself so that you kind of know when you're going to do certain things and how you're going to get to nursing school. So this is just like a little personal story, but when I started to look into different nursing programs and I was talking to some admissions counselors, I was told, first of all, that I should probably wait until next year to apply because I hadn't taken any of my science prerequisites yet. And the admissions counselor that I was talking to thought that I couldn't do it, and she thought that I probably couldn't pass or get a good grade on the TEAS test because of that. And so she thought that I should take another year just to finish up those classes and then take the TEAS test and then apply to the school. But when I looked at the requirements and I kind of thought through the timeline in my head, I knew that I had enough time to study for the TEAS test and get ready for it, even though I hadn't taken science courses yet. And I also knew that I had enough time to finish up all of my prerequisites in time to do the application. And so just knowing my own strengths and then also knowing my own limits, I knew that I could do it. And so I really didn't listen to what she said because I was like, okay, I know I can do it. Here I am now, and I finished all of those prerequisites. I finished the tests, the TEAS test, and I got a good score. And now I'm able to compete to get into the nursing program. And on the flip side, I had my admissions counselor also recommend what semesters I should take certain classes. And there was a specific semester where she thought I should take anatomy and physiology, which was a great recommendation. But what she didn't realize is that we had just had a baby and our baby was born prematurely. And so I personally just knew that that semester was not a good semester for me to take anatomy and physiology, and I knew that I needed a break. And so I took that semester completely off of classes. I knew I still had time to finish up anatomy and physiology before the nursing program started. And so because I already had a timeline in my head and I knew when I could take certain classes and I knew my limits, I just knew I couldn't handle it that semester, I was able to make that decision and know that I would still be ready for the nursing program when it started. All that to say, admissions counselors can be very helpful in, getting you set up and recommending different things, but just know at the end of the day, nobody cares quite as much as you do about getting into the nursing program, and also nobody knows your personal capabilities and your personal limits as well as you do. Just make sure that you take that into consideration and think about what your strengths are and then what your weaknesses are, and make sure you kind of plan out your courses so that it works out for you personally. This is obviously your personal nursing journey and not anybody else's. And so that's one of the biggest tips that I can give you. Finally, my last tip, and I think this is also very important, is to find somebody who can really encourage you as you go through your pre-nursing classes and just this whole pre-nursing process. There is a lot of different requirements that you have to do, and some of them can be tough, like the nursing entrance exams and the science courses and just a lot of different things that you have to get done. And it can sometimes be overwhelming. So it's great to have at least one person who can cheer you on, ask you how things are going. That could be your mom, it could be a friend, it could be your spouse, anybody who can kind of cheer you on, encourage you, and help you with that. For me personally, it's my husband. He just is constantly encouraging me and helping me with things and giving me time so that I can study and keep on top of my classes, even with kids. And so that's something that I just appreciate so much, and I think is very important to have at least one person like that. And if you can have more, that's great. Those are all my tips. I hope that they were helpful, and I hope that you took away some good things from this. If you're watching this and you're a pre-nursing student and there's any other tips that you would add, definitely go ahead and drop a comment below. I love to connect with you all on here as well. So definitely go ahead and say hello. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like below. You can subscribe to this channel for more content similar to this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.